Morning to you, a fine morning. I hope we meet you well. I am Iyori Folari, and this morning we'll be talking about the utterance, let me put it that way, the statement that was made by the Edo State governor. I think it must have been on the 23rd or so, but it was on the occasion of inaugurating the Edo State PDP Campaign Council. Now, our guest is a former commissioner for information in Edo State. He has left the PDP, you know, that's a different subject altogether. He left on principle that he couldn't be part of a party that was breaking its word with, you know, its public. But that's really not why we're here. Mr. Fegbua is here to, and by the way, by way of describing him, I need to correct myself. He's not a member of the he's not a member of the Tinubu-Shettima Presidential Campaign Council, but he is a supporter of the aspiration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidential quest. So a fine morning to you, Kazim.
Good morning.
Yes. Okay then. Now I got that straight, and I got the nomenclature straight as well. Now the shocking statement, as I have said already, which was that you know, His Excellency the Edo State governor, who of course is in the PDP, then said that maybe as some sort of a pep talk. I suppose the most notable statement out of a fairly negative review, the most important statement was that Nigeria will break up should the APC win its presidential quest. How did that grab you?
Thank you. Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. There's a delay between us, but it's all right.
Oh, okay. Okay. The point is, I think I did a write-up yesterday where I tried to dissect what Obaseki said with respect to Nigeria breaking up if the APC wins. So that means by implication if Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins. I think for a governor to make such kind of statement at this time of our nationality is not only careless, it's not only irresponsible, it means there is a deliberate attempt, you know, to utter the apple cart in the build-up to the 2023 elections, knowing full well that his beleaguered candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has nowhere to go. So in order to whip up undue sentiments among his coterie of aides and supporters, knowing full well that Edo is balkanized into two formidable groups, that of the governor and that of Dan Obi, he just wanted to say something that would draw attention to him and cover up his failures in the governance of the state. And I give you a typical example. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar came to Edo State for campaign, and what the governor could show Atiku for commissioning was a refurbished old stadium that was built over 50-something years ago. A government that is performing, a government that is responsive, a government that is able to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people will not wake up and be pointing accusing fingers at the federal government or another government elsewhere when he has left his own government in ruts, in decay, and in failures. Go to Edo State today, insecurity is high. Only 4 or 5 days ago, 7 people were killed traveling with Apostle Suleiman. And several other cases of kidnapping and all of that in the state. Yet, this same governor will leave the responsibilities of governance in the state and be looking elsewhere and talking about doomsday. I think that's a contradiction that I couldn't stomach. So I had to write my position and I got it published.
Exactly. It looks like, in fact, the way that statement, I saw it yesterday on social media. It was titled Governor Obaseki's Verbal Diarrhea 1, suggesting that there might be a second part to it as necessary.
The part two is coming.
The part two. Well, you know, in this political season, and, you know, I suppose people almost feel that they almost have a license that anything goes, but anything doesn't go because some things can be, quite misleading. For instance, when you say, as he said, that apart from Nigeria breaking up, which a lot of people would have thought, where is that one coming from? He also blames APC for plunging Nigeria into debt, a debt of 60 trillion. Don't know whether it was dollars or naira, but you see, it's like it was a free-for-all of freedom of speech in the most relaxed manner that I can imagine.
Well, the point is this, Folari. It is very easy and very convenient for people to always want to apportion blame instead of facing the responsibility of their own leadership. I would have been happier if Obaseki has not plunged Edo State into debt since he came in, for him to derive the moral authority to complain about Nigerian debts going up to 60 trillion naira. If you look at the breakdown of debts in Nigeria, state governments share a responsibility. They share a part of all of that debts, and Edo State is not an exception. If you look at Governor Obaseki also, his first 4 years, almost 4 years, was spent as a member of the APC. He was part and parcel of the power process of the APC. His Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was also part and parcel of the APC. He did not only participate in the process of throwing up the leadership of the APC in 2015, he also donated his spokesman, Garba Shehu, to the APC and by extension to President Muhammadu Buhari as we speak. So when he left the APC in 2017, it was all because he needed to contest an election and he felt that he won't be able to get the ticket in the APC. So all of these persons and factors are part and parcel of whatever accusations they can lay on the doorstep of APC. But we need to constantly remind them so that history will be properly documented that they were part and parcel of the whole process. Obaseki was part and parcel until he was shown the exit door before he ran to PDP. He quarreled with APC while he was there. He came to PDP. He started quarreling with them as soon as he got the ticket. As soon as he became governor and was elected, he started quarreling. And as we speak today, there are two groups of PDP in Edo State. One, the legacy group, which comprises the original members of the PDP before Obaseki came. And two, his own government group, which comprises those who came with him from APC to the PDP and who have refused to properly integrate themselves and wanted to behave like landlords who have come to wanted to behave like landlords, knowing full well they came to meet certain structures on ground. So the point is, when you are pointing one finger at the federal government, the four others are pointing at Obaseki, because Edo State is also a debtor state. He's owing money. Obaseki has taken loans since he came on board, even though we have not seen corresponding performance with respect to loans that he has collected. We have not seen even the resources gotten from federal allocation. We have not seen the performance. The money he's taking on the security vote, we have not seen the corresponding impact on ground, because Edo is still largely an endangered species. And as the #1 citizen of that state, we expect him to wake up to the responsibilities of providing leadership so that life could be better for the ordinary folks out there. So rather than apportioning blame, calling federal government names and say we are 60 trillion naira and all that, he should look inwards and tell us what he has done with the resources he's gotten from the federal government.
Now, Kazim, if you don't mind, I'd like to find out, you have left the PDP now, but you were with them, and as you said, even there was, the other people have been with them, but when you cut out of the PDP because you couldn't stand it, there you were in the key position of Commissioner for Information in Edo State. I wonder, how do you feel about that you were part of them, and if this hadn't happened, if the election, if the way that Alhaji Atiku had come up with, his candidature and his running mate, if it hadn't been that way, do you think he would have cut out of the PDP?
Okay, now let me give you the narration.
Sure.
I was a commissioner in Edo State under Adam Soshomole. First, I was special advisor of media and strategy to him before I became a commissioner 1 year to the end of the tenure in 2016. I was a foundation member of the APC. I left on my own volition when I discovered that I wasn't given enough ground and opportunity to continue to, excuse me?
Sure.
To continue to offer my voice the way I feel. And now I left PDP formally in June this year after the primaries, the presidential primaries, and I made bold to say that my position was very clear, unambiguous, and straight to the point. Within the PDP formation, there is and there are provisions in the Constitution which supports zoning of positions with respect to all the geopolitical zones, between North and South. There are provisions that also encourage equity, fairness, and justice in the way and manner they dispense with the positions, whether elective or even appointment. Within the PDP, in 2018, there was no single presidential aspirant from the southern part of the country, based on the understanding that after President Jonathan served out his term in 2015, it will be naturally the turn of the North. And so the PDP aspirants from the South dropped their ambition and allowed every aspirant from the North to participate. That, to me, is an understanding of our delicate balance, of our intricate logic, and the fact that in a country of several configurations, you need to balance the algorithms of power. Now, when that came on, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar emerged as the candidate in 2018 to contest for the 2019 election. After the election, one will expect that a man like him would stay back home and help to, to balance all the factors within the party and even deepen democracy by virtue of participation and helping to put in place a strong executive that will lead the party. But he never did. He ran away to Dubai, and 3 years later he came back and said he wanted to become president again. And in doing so, the party started to take a decision on certain issues, principal of which was the issue of zoning. The positions in the southern part of the country were ceded to the north. The ones in the north were ceded to the south with respect to the executive members of the party. That was what gave rise to Iyocha Ayu-led National Working Committee as we speak. Now, the elective position, presidency, rather than allow the southern aspirants to have their own feat day in reciprocal move, like they did in 2018 for their northern brothers, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Iyocha Ayu, and others railroaded the process and twisted the whole process and said they should jettison zoning. Zoning is entrenched in the constitution of the PDP. It's an article of faith, an article of trade that you cannot jettison on account of your own pecuniary interest or selfish consideration because you have interest for one particular candidate. Now they've come up with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and I said, no, it will offend my conscience and my goodwill if I decide to support Atiku again against the opportunities that present itself for the southern part of the country to produce president. And in doing that, I made my position very known, but they wouldn't like to be told the truth. I like to interrogate power. I like to speak truth to power. No matter whose horse is God, I told them categorically, if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar emerges, I, Kasim Afegbua, with my one vote, I will pull out of the party and go and give any southern candidate my vote. And my reasons are quite clear. In the APC, 14 governors rose from a meeting, understanding the peculiarities in the country, took a decision, and communicated with Mr. President that no, you are finishing 8 years as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The best thing to do is to cede the power to the South to balance the power algorithms. If you don't power algorithms and you are choosing another northerner to succeed you, Mr. President, you'll be creating crisis and instability that will also, impair on the chances of deepening our democracy. And those governors today remain my heroes, all the 14 governors from the north. I'm so proud of them because they understand the dynamics in the country. They are not selfish with their aspirations. They are not selfish with their interests, but they are looking Nigeria patriotically and nationalistically. And that was what gave birth to Bola Ahmed Tinubu to emerge as a candidate of the APC. So if you give me these two scenarios, I will go with Bola Ahmed Tinubu because the process that threw him up understand the dynamics in the country. The process also understand the fact that after a northern president has presided over the country for 8 years, it's only natural in the spirit of equity, fairness, and justice for the southern part of the country to also occupy the position. So Atiku is contesting against the run of play. Whether he likes it or not, I will continue to fast and pray, and I know God will answer me that he will not step his feet into that as a rock. I'm not God, but God speaks through men, and they say the voices of men are voices of God, and the voice of God are voices of men. I am going to continue praying because whether you like it or not, you cannot toy with the sensitivity and the delicate and intricate logic of Nigerian Federation. No matter how imbalanced, we must not help to deepen the imbalances. We must help to create some level of equilibrium between the North and South.
Thank you very much, Kazim, for that background. So for those who are hearing it for the first time, there, of course, are those who know that this was a principled stance, and you've also spoken about this. But on our program this morning, this is the first, and we're delighted that you could go over the situation again. And that's why when I just look at what His Excellency, the Edo State Governor, what he was saying at that campaign council of the PDP that was inaugurated, I mean, in addition to what we've said already, he also said Nigeria has already failed. I mean, I just don't know where that was coming from. And that Nigeria has failed because no one has done as much damage to the country as APC. So, I mean, I was then, I guess there'll be more than a few people who will be wondering, where is that coming from? Nigeria has failed, damage to the country via APC, and that he said right now he's not breathing easily, but that by the time his principal, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the PDP, when he ascends to power, then he'll be able to breathe a bit easier. But as of now, that is as of the time that they were inaugurating their council, he was saying that Nigeria has failed. And he was saying that as if it was something that was commonly known. So I begin to wonder at the level of political speak that people can sometimes indulge in. The fact that he said Nigeria has failed, and that I was surprised that where did that come from?
Has failed, yes.
Nigeria has failed, and that he's not able to breathe well. But by the time his principal comes, aha, that's when he shall be able to breathe well.
You see, just like I told you earlier, Folari, you see, Nigerian politicians are always very, very ridiculous. And that's why some of us, we can't stand the kind of things we see when we operate within them, and when we see the kind of doublespeak. And when you try to interrogate all of these persons and processes, they will call you names. When Obaseki was coming into PDP, even as a member of PDP, I stood my ground against him. I said, this man will not behave differently from all the troubles he has given APC, and that it will be bad for us to be inheriting all of that trouble in the name of political expediency of having a governor from PDP in Edo State. Today, those who abuse me, those who call me names, they have since apologized and telling me that I have become a soothsayer because I predicted that they will be restless. Obaseki won't allow them to sleep. They won't allow them peace. And that is exactly what is happening in Edo State today. Edo State PDP is a shadow of itself. The original legacy members and legacy group of PDP are still very much intact. Now, talking about failure, I was thinking that an Obaseki will be telling me that he has achieved so much in Edo State and that Edo State has become an El Dorado that he promised before he could derive the morality to complain about Nigeria becoming a failed state. That means Edo has also become a failed state. By all indices, rather than being an El Dorado that he promised, Edo has become Edo rubbish. But we are going to rescue the state from him. We are not going to allow him to kill all the wishes and aspirations of the people in this whimsical manner. We are going to continue to advocate for good governance. We are going to put him to task. He must render service. He must be accountable to the people so that in the final analysis, he will understand with all his dribblings and all of that. If you go back to Edo State today, it's a sorry state from what Oshomole left it. Flooding is everywhere because he has refused to continue the erosion and flooding mitigation that Oshomole started. And they will continue collecting money from ecological funds, but to account for them becomes a problem. And when you try to challenge them, they will call you names, they'll send their thugs after you. They want to chase you around. They label you all manners of allegations and all of that, so that they will be able to arrest you and put you in Oko prison. But for God's sake, right before the government of Edo, we had 2 jailbreaks in Edo State. Till today, have they been able to mop up the prisoners? No. Roads are bad in Edo. Quality roads are in absentia. So when you are complaining that Nigeria has become a failed state and you are Obaseki should not be the ones making all of that allegations or making such statements. Nigeria has its own challenges, no doubt about that. But we have not become failed state. We have our challenges, and they are not peculiar to us. But again, we need leadership to be able to move forward. We need to buy into this. I've told people I can't stay anywhere outside Nigeria. This is the only country where I can stay without my international passport. I can stay here without visa. This is the country I call my home. I can travel to my village, interact with my people. This is so I will do everything within my means to be part and parcel of the power process that will throw up a leadership that will be able to respond to the challenges facing us. But to continue to apportion blame when you are sitting on top of a leadership rostrum and unable to deliver governance as it should be is a carriage of excess kindness.
Indeed, and even as you say in your piece that you were speaking about at the top of the program, you say the government he runs is, and I'm quoting you directly here, the government he runs is short on accountability and long on MOU and failed promises.
Yes.
You know.
Failures.
So For that kind of a man, that's why some of us that also had inklings, maybe not as close as you being the Commissioner for Information, we're wondering where all of this was coming from. So there's a sense in which, look, politicians can't afford to ignore everything, because some of them, it's been said that tell enough lies and some of it will stick. So of course there had to be a response. But I imagine that a lot of people would have been, they just wouldn't have known where all of this bile was coming from. It's another thing, as you were saying, if you were to bring forward, achievements, but to just say that the country has failed and that if your opponent actually makes it at the polls, the country will break up. There are those who have even gone as far as calling it irresponsible to be whipping up fear, because there are those of our people who look at, big men, so to speak, the way we say it locally, and believe that they can only say what is true. But to now say to the public that this country will break up if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate, if they were to win it, I guess it leaves a lot to be desired. And they themselves, I imagine that spokespeople for them have already made this point. So I guess there's a sense in which the people themselves, the people who are consuming all of this, probably know a lot better than Governor Obaseki might think.
You see, the point is this. I think Obaseki was speaking from a point of frustration.
Please continue.
And he's afraid that a Tinubu will win presidential election, and that will also mean that his own place, it will be difficult for him to produce a successor when he will be leaving power in 2024. Knowing full well the insults, the abuses they rain on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Edo no be Lagos that they were singing with in 2020. But again, it's just for those who are feeble-minded. Governance and leadership are very serious indulgence. Serious in the sense that they create the enabling environment for businesses to thrive and also allow people to pursue their legitimate aspirations without let or hindrance. But when there is leadership failure, as evident in Edo State presently, then all of those attractions that should naturally move the people to the government will become quite far-flung. So in Edo State presently, the Obaseki leadership has been unable to connect the dots, to even rally the people to support his aspiration of leadership and his aspiration of governance. Education in Edo State is nothing to write home about as we speak. It's in a complete state of rot. And I'm saying this with all due sense of responsibility based on the facts on ground. And I will give you instances. My community schools, about 5 schools in my village of Okwela, 5 secondary schools, none of them has 5 teachers. None. And I'm saying this with emphasis. None of them has 5 teachers to teach from GSS 1 to SS3. And that's Obaseki State. Aside from where Oshomole left education in 2016, Obaseki has not imparted meaningfully to up the ante. And so it's convenient for him to be digressing, shifting attention away from the rots that exist in Edo State and looking at the national statistics or national data to be able to digress so that people will not place emphasis on his administration. But again, we will continue to dig deep into this. If he's frustrated, he has an opportunity to resign from leadership. But for him to be saying that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is the person he wants to, he's supporting and he's expecting that will bring the magic wand to turn things around, I think it's been economical with the truth. Because we know those who betrayed the Southern cause, and Obaseki is one of them. Okowa is another. They had a meeting in Asaba called the Asaba Declaration, where the 17 governors of the South took a decision that they will speak with one voice, even though they are represented in two different parties, to be able to ensure that they get the presidency in 2023. When it was time to blow up the whistle, we didn't see them again. They walked through the back door, and they were supporting the aspiration of Atiku Abubakar. And so today, Okowa is vice presidential candidate, and the problem that has emanated from that has been more than what they can chew. So, in as much as there is injustice, lack of fairness and equity, you will continue to have problems, you will continue to have protestations, you will continue to have agitations. And that is what has brought in the wicked dimension to the entire political discourse of the southern part of the country. And I keep telling people, you need stability, you need equanimity of purpose, you need cohesion and national patriotism for you to be able to deliver on your electoral promises if you are contesting election. If all of these are absent because of the faulty nature of the foundation of your aspiration, then you cannot achieve much. Of course, I am one of the strongest critics of APC in the last 7 years. Strongest critic. Even within the APC as a member, I was criticizing the APC. When it was uncomfortable for some persons, I decided to leave the APC on my own and join the PDP, so that it would give me opportunity to criticize them. And criticism is not negative. Criticism is to wake up the leadership or the president to perform, to do certain things which he may have, he may have forgotten, or to fulfill his promises which are captured in party manifestos. And so now today, when I left the PDP, I told myself I'm not going to join the APC, but I will support the aspiration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima, because I prefer those two to Atiku Abubakar and Okowa and Peter Obi and Dati Ahmed. All of these persons are my friends. I know them very well. I've interacted with them. I know the capacity they have. I know what they can do. I know what they cannot do. But for anybody to think that a Tinubu will not be able to move the country forward, I think the person does not understand how strategic Tinubu minds work.
All right, then. I want to thank you very, very much, Kasim Afegbua, for making the time for us this morning. Time doesn't permit us to go beyond this, but I thank you very, very much. As we said, you've just said another question I would have asked, that no, you're not necessarily joining the APC, but that, you certainly know a better choice when you see one. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, then. Okay, now that is something. As I was saying, there are people, Kazim Afegbua, he's a well-known public figure, and he was the Commissioner for Information in Edo State. And so there are those who know his story, but I'm delighted that he was able to also explain it to us, why things have gone the way, that it has. I just didn't think it was necessary to go there. But, much has been made about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as a unifier. But there, Kazim was there telling us about, the fact that PDP, from his point of view, is split, even in Edo State. There's the legacy group, and there's the group that came along with the governor. And so that, I don't know, maybe the prowess of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar being a unifier that we've heard so much about hasn't come to manifest itself yet. Mazi Okoroafo, thank you very much for calling in, sir. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning again, Sayori. You see, sometimes when we listen to some of this commentary from incumbent governors, you start asking yourself, is it the job people voted them for? Because you cannot compare or bring comparison in terms of age, in terms of education, in terms of awareness with the Jagapan. So that is why sometimes I'll normally advise people that there are certain things you see, ignore. Because a child cannot sit there and be talking to his father as if they are mates. But the question is this: I will advise the governor, let him sit down, look at what is happening in his state. At least it was in the Edo State we saw where they have the mortuary or waiting inside the Edo State. And the governors are there, they say they have vigilante groups where people have one shrine, so whether it's shrine or cemetery, only God. You should go down there and find solution or have that, and see how to handle the criminality. Because Lagos Benin Road or Ibadan Benin Road, it's unbelievable. Every day we hear about, look at about the Awuchi incident. This is what the governor should think. Find a solution to your government and stop looking outside. You have a lot to do in your state. Like what the guest was just talking about in about school. Honestly speaking, if you go to schools, not even in those states, there are schools you not even show to 3 teachers. But the governors will come to the school and be, as if they have done nothing. Killing the primary education, which is the key cardinal point of any state, any country. Because when you fail to equip the primary school, that means you have failed as a governor, failed woefully. All this is not honest speaking. Governors, not only they should go back to the basics, find solutions. Even the state university, the polytechnic, the college of education, what is happening? You see the teachers, people say, this school, some schools are reopened, as they were there. Honestly speaking, my brother Obaseki, please, people have themselves, sit down, think positively about to solve the problem of the state, forget about external stories. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Mazi Okoroafo. Thank you for calling in. We're looking today at the so-called Doomsday predictions of Governor Obaseki, the PDP governor of Edo State, former APC governor. He was an APC governor for a session, for a term, and then was PDP governor. And, maybe it's part of the fight to actually say as much as was said in a public forum, spoken publicly, suggesting that the country, was about to break up if the APC, contestants were to win victory. We had the privilege of speaking with someone very close to governance in Edo State, talking about Kazim, and who has said that, it is what it is. I hope you heard it. I don't need to start going about it. But Ridwan has called in, if I got that right. Is it Ridwan? Good morning. I can hear someone's voice. Maybe I didn't say the name right. Good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Can you go ahead?
Okay. Ridwan, good morning.
Yes, Ridwan.
Okay, go ahead. You're on air right now. Go ahead, please.
Okay. You people, I'm watching the program from Edo State. Okay. Obaseki is a total failure. When I mean a total failure, he cannot point at one project that he has executed in Edo State.
Okay.
Even what I'm trying to say is that
well, I think I got you, Ridwan. The lines are not as clear as they could be. Thank you very much. But also to use this opportunity to announce that just about now, they're ready for the presentation of the 2023 budget estimates to the Lagos State House of Assembly at the Assembly chambers. That's, as you can see, it's all ready now. That's about to start very, very shortly. And in fact, this is sort of notice that that's what's up next on TBC. But thank you very much to Ridwan, who was calling in. And I believe the point Ridwan was making was that he's yet himself to see any successful conclusion of any meaningful project in Edo State. Well, that's as far as Ridwan is concerned. Maybe anybody would call in later if we still have enough time. In fact, we're very, very short on time now, having spent most of it with our main guest, the former Commissioner Kazim Afegbua, and who is now not necessarily not a member, as he said. It doesn't mean that he's joining APC, but he's a supporter of the Tinubu Shetima presidential campaign. And in that context, he spoke to us, given the lie, quite frankly, let it be said, to all that the governor, His Excellency, the governor of Edo State said at the launching of the Edo State PDP Campaign Council. Mr. Aliu in Nasarawa, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. How's everything? How's well, sir?
Okay, go ahead now, please, quickly.
To my opposition, Governor Obaseki is a very, very nice candidate. And by the Good morning, sir.
Good morning. We can hear you. Please go on. I have maybe less than a minute or so. Go ahead, please.
Eyes up, sir.
Work is fine. Please say your piece. Go ahead and speak. Oh, dear. Okay. It is what it is. Anyway, as I said, let me just end the program there. That's where we're going to have to leave it today. There are all sorts of reasons, but thanks to our guest, Kassim Afegbua, who came on earlier to speak to the predictions of doom by the Edo State Governor. But as I said, up next is the presentation of the 2023 budget estimates to the Lagos State House of Assembly at the Assembly Chambers. It's about to start anytime from now. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folare. Bye-bye for now.